Hey guys, welcome back to the Comic Book Lowdown. I'm Wellington, and today I'm going to be doing a trade paperback review on Daredevil Born Again. This collects issue 226 through 233. This is written by Frank Miller and art done by David Mazzuccelli. You might know that same team as the guys, the writer and the artist that wrote Batman Year One. But this comes before that. So jumping right into it, we don't actually start on issue 226. We start on issue 227 because that's where the actual, that's where the actual Born Again story arc starts. 226 is actually in the back. And it's just a regular one-shot story that it's the first collaboration between Miller and Mazzuccelli. So in the book they give you a little note just saying that they're just gonna put that extra issue in there just to complete the whole collaboration on Daredevil that they had with each other. But jumping right into Born Again, this is the pretty much the first Kingpin story where Kingpin pretty much outs Daredevil or outs Matt Murdock as being Daredevil, and this is written very well and it holds up today. Like sometimes Frank Miller, when he writes, his writing is much of that time, but in this the story really transcends to any time period, and also the art definitely reflects just a broad time period, just broad characters, and not anything that stays in the 80s, if you will. I'm not gonna really go too much into story. Just gonna tell you some things that I really like about it. One thing I really like about it is the way that he handles Matt Murdock in this. The way that Miller writes Matt Murdock, I think is very great. It's very compelling, because Matt Murdock's pretty much having everything in his life taken away from him by the Kingpin, because Karen Page, she gives up Matt Murdock's double life. She gives up Daredevil's identity to I think it was a dealer or just somebody, so she could get a heroin fix. And so there's some very adult themes throughout this book, and there's the back cover of it. That's a good panel when it comes up in the book. But yeah, so word gets out to the Kingpin that Matt Murdock is Daredevil, and so Kingpin goes on an all-out just parade trying to ruin Matt Murdock's life, and he does that pretty well by first getting him fired from his law firm, or he gets him debarred so he can't practice law anymore. Then he blows up his apartment, so now he has nowhere to stay, and he's got Matt pretty much going crazy. And then he's got nowhere to live. He's got nothing to him, and all he has is Daredevil is what he feels like. And then when he blows up the apartment, he doesn't even have Daredevil anymore because the costume gets torn to shreds. And there's a really good panel. I might actually just show you guys this panel because it's really good. It shows this couple panels right here at the bottom. That's when Matt's apartment gets blown up, and he's holding his shredded Daredevil costume, and he's actually crying. And there's a lot of Catholic themes in this. Frank Miller definitely bases his Daredevil stuff around Catholicism, and just there's a lot of character things throughout this book that is just handled so well, and just the plot is always turning. It's never boring. There's character plots all over the place. You know, there's the Matt Murdock stuff, there's the Kingpin stuff, there's the Karen Page stuff, there's the Foggy Nelson and Glory stuff, there's the Ben Urich stuff, just all these kinds of things that play together in this one story arc, and they all fit so nicely and so cozy together and just works. Excuse me. Just finishing the book right now. These are my initial thoughts, and just have to really give it up for them again. I'll say it a bunch of times. They did such a good job on this. They really struck gold. There's definitely some disturbing things that happen in this. I'll give you an example. Well, actually, I don't want to ruin it, and you just have to see it in context. But there's a part where Ben Urich kills a guy because out of necessity he has to kill somebody. You know, and the art just works so well throughout this. It's a very there's a lot of tension throughout this story, and Mazzuccelli definitely portrays all that tension in his art. He draws a lot of people sweating throughout this. When people are sweating, it looks like they're sweating profusely because there's just so much tension around. Another person I really liked throughout this is the Kingpin. The Kingpin to me before this was really just, I knew that he was a legit bad guy. I knew he was, you know, he was a big deal, but I had never seen him being a really big deal. The only place I really know Kingpin from is from that 1990s Spider-Man cartoon. And that's not the Kingpin that you see in this. The Kingpin you see in this is a lot worse. He's a lot worse guy. You know, he kills people, and he's obsessed. He's very obsessed with Matt Murdock, and he feels like he killed Matt Murdock at one point in this, and you just see him having so much joy in his face when he feels that way, and then he finds out that Matt survived, and then just all of that joy just sinks out of him, and he's just extremely angry. And it gets to the point where he hires a guy named Nuke, who's pretty much a super soldier like Captain America, and he's working for the government, but he runs on amphetamines. That's a hard word, but he runs on drugs that, you know, he's not feeling any pain really. He's just all out, and he does everything for his country, and all he does, he focuses on one thing, and that's the enemy, and whoever tells him is the enemy. Whoever somebody tells him is the enemy, that's who he goes after. So, his name is Nuke, by the way, and he paints his face with an American flag. And so, Kingpin recruits Nuke, and he pretty much tells him that the people of Hell's Kitchen are the enemy. And that makes him go crazy, and they, you know, him and his, I don't even know who's controlling him, they come in on a helicopter into Hell's Kitchen, and they just start killing people and blowing stuff up, and people are getting hurt and killed and all this kind of stuff and shot. And then Matt Murdock ends up fighting him, and at this point he got a new costume, well, the same costume, but a newly made costume, and that's when Matt Murdock really becomes Daredevil again. And the way that they handled seeing Daredevil in costume, it was very nice. That the actual first time, well, no, not the first time you see Daredevil in costume, but towards the end is when you start seeing him in costume again. And actually, there's another guy, he's a psychopath, that he's wearing the Daredevil costume, the newly made one first, and he's trying to actually kill a bunch of people, including Matt Murdock, but Matt stops him and he beats him up and he steals the costume. and all that kind of good stuff. But just go into another panel that I really like throughout this. Let me try to find it. Oh, the Avengers show up for a little bit in here. Their presence wasn't felt very much, except for Captain America's. Captain America's presence was felt, but Thor and Iron Man do show up. But here's a very good panel, full page of Daredevil. Just look at how Mazzuccelli draws him. That looks beautiful, and the shading is great. That's really just great art at its finest. And this is towards the end of the book, and the end of the book is very intense because it's pretty much an all-out, man versus man war against an entire neighborhood, and you'd be surprised what just 2-3 people can do to a neighborhood, and it's very intense towards the end. You will not be bored reading it. There's really nothing bad to say about it towards the end. Yeah, I don't want to show you guys that. If you haven't read this, I definitely recommend picking this up, because if you like Daredevil, pick this up because it's a very important Daredevil story. And if you don't like Daredevil, but you want to, try it out, at least read something that's good quality, pick this up, because this is just good comics at good comics. And it's only $20. I didn't finish issue 226 because I wanted to get this video out in time. I said I was going to do the video today, and throughout reading what I've read of it so far, you don't really need to read 226 before reading the 227. That's why they put it at the end of the book. But if you want to just stay in continuity, I guess you could just read 226. But the end of it, it doesn't really segue into Born Again. It's just Born Again starts. But so after the last issue, or after 226, they got some covers here, and this is just this, but the actual covers of it, there's a couple of them. Well, there's 2 of them, and then they start showing the covers of the actual books, the actual issues. This is the first one, the second one. Third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. This one is a really good one, actually. The 5th one. If you can't tell, this guy in the blue jacket is Matt Murdock, and a Daredevil is hitting him. And here's the cover of the last issue. So you can see that Captain America does play a role in this, and that's just a panel in the book. And then they start showing some art, just some pencils of the art, and it just shows that stuff throughout the end of the book. But it's very interesting how, just seeing the pencils of everything, before it's colored in, before it's shaded, and just seeing how Mazzuccelli does his work, very interesting. And then looking at the pages once they're colored, definitely puts a three-dimensional tone to them. Here are some things that have been outlined. You can see those better. And they have the thought balloons and the talking bubbles numbered. You can see they got the 1, 2, 3, and then they just have them all throughout the page. So they got all that kind of stuff numbered. So, you know, a lot of stuff goes into making these. Here's some Frank Miller writing. You can't really see what it's saying, but that's just the plot. That's him explaining the plot. And then it gets to the end, and so yeah, I don't really have anything bad to say about this, honestly. I was going to complain about issue 226 being at the end of the book, but seeing as how it doesn't play a role at all to the whole Born Again story, it's not even necessary to read. It's just a fun read, though. I just really wanted to get this video out in time, so I didn't finish reading it, but I'm going to finish reading it once I get the chance. But yeah, so pick up Frank Miller Daredevil. Just based on this, it's very good. It's very good writing, and I plan on getting Daredevil Man Without Fear in trade one of these days, and that's Frank Miller writing and John Romita Jr. on art. So I plan on getting into that, and soon enough I'm gonna be having the big omnibus review of The Amazing Spider-Man by David Michelinie and Todd McFarlane, and that's gonna be my first omnibus review. There's going to be different camera shots. You're not going to be really looking at me. But that will be a fun one to review. I'm almost done with it. I just haven't been able to read it lately. But I'm very close to finishing it. So that's it with my review. This is Wellington signing off with the Comic Book Lowdown. And I'll see you guys next time.